Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the Leafs Convo Podcast presented by Oakridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. I'm Norman James along with Mike Jello. It's good to be with you. The Sunday Spectacular. The Leafs at training camp in St. John's, Newfoundland, fueled by Gatorade, Michael. And hey, fueled by acrimony or harmony. Mitch Marner and Kyle Dubas getting together to talk about how they're ready to go forward.
Good morning, Norman. I think that one of the things that came out in the little over 10-minute press conference was that a meeting face-to-face between Marner and Kyle Dubas on Thursday in Toronto seemed to sort of break the logjam of what was going on. Now, nobody will ever know what was said in that meeting. Dubas essentially said, I got a chance to give my point of view. Mitch got a chance to give his point of view. And, lo and behold, 24 hours later, a deal was done. Now, you can look at this deal, and I know there are a lot of critics of it. I read, and I respect Steve Simmons' point of view, and in his column this morning, he talked about the fact that Kyle Dubas really didn't do a great job here because he essentially paid close to $40 million between Tavares, Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, and he's right in that respect. But it's getting them signed.
I know.
Now the task in front of Dubas, and he joked yesterday about having the great capologist and Brandon Pridham. Well, Brandon Pridham is going to have a tough job over the next few years because the cap's not going to go up that much, and those contracts aren't going away unless one of them are traded. And, my point of view on that one. So, it's going to be challenging, but this is the team. The team is now together.
Mm-hmm.
All these players are locked up for multiple years. Morgan Rielly, Frederick Anderson, Kerfoot, Kapanen, Janssen, and then the big four. So what you're going to see opening night against the Ottawa Senators in a couple weeks is the team you're going to see. There's not going to be some savior that comes in at the trade deadline or some free agent savior next July. This is the team.
Yeah, you bet. This is the Leafs Convo Podcast presented by Oakridge Ford. The scapegoats are gone. The stars are getting paid. This is the crew now, Mike, save for a few deadline deals, accessories brought in, removed. At the end of the day, you could do a lot worse with other players and other circumstances. Sure, your defense is never good enough, and I think that's true for any team. I don't know. Go out and get 110 points. Make up for the regular season that you thought you'd have last year. Do it this time around. Pound through the first round and go get it. It's not like this Maple Leafs team is incapable of going all the way, at least on paper.
Well, other than qualifying for the playoffs and getting in a position to face within the Boston Bruins, the regular season, you see that it's become less and less meaningful because Columbus gets in. They get in on one of the last few days of the regular season, and then they beat Tampa. Rise to the occasion against Toronto. So, I'm all for the entertaining us and getting 110 points, but in the end, get in the playoffs and not face Boston. And if they do that, I think they have a chance to go pretty far. But it's going to be 82 games of evaluation, seeing what they're like, because you have a significant change of roster, and seeing what they do when it counts in the postseason.
Mm-hmm. So now that our angst is subsiding over Mitch Marner not being with the team or not having signed a deal, and that evolving into angst over what he was paid, where does fandom begin to put its angst or excitement now? Into training camp, into positional battles, or are we just going to lament something no matter what the situation is, because that's just in our DNA, not only as hockey fans, but more specifically as followers of the beloved blue and white?
Well, I think they'll lament the contracts if say Marner gets off to a slow starter, doesn't get close to what he scored last year, which was 94 points. I mean, that'll just be looking back in retrospect. No, I think it's funny because I said in my piece in Hockey Buzz yesterday, the person with the biggest grin, on the island of Newfoundland yesterday was Mike Babcock, because he had all of his toys. Everybody was back. Everybody's locked up. There's no, Nylander situation that he has to answer to every day. Not have to go through the Marner thing like he went with Nylander last year. He's got his team. He's got his players. Now, I think the onus switches to Babcock and how he uses these players. And if this team doesn't play well, I think most people have come to what I've been saying for a few months. If this team doesn't do well, if this team has it this year again, Mike Babcock is gone. Mm-hmm. That's not hyperbole. That's probably fact. So, he's got the players. They're all under contract. He's a brilliant coach. Now get this team further than you have over the last few years.
Will we all be able to get along for the season to come? Players, media, fans. That's the big question, Mike. We'll delve deeper into that, plus talk a little bit more about positional battles after a word from our sponsor.
Nathan Jenner from Oakridge Ford. The month of September means a lot to a lot of people. To us, it's the end of employee pricing, where you pay what we pay at Oakridge Ford. Like a 3-year lease on a 2019 F-150 Lariat with leather and navigation for only $499 per month, plus HST with $0 down. Employee pricing ends on September 30th, but inventory is limited, so get down here quickly. For full details, visit your friends at Oakridge Ford at Oxford and Wonderland or go to oakridgeford.com.
And of course, welcome aboard. Oakridge Ford employee pricing ends September 30th. OF-Combo-2019. That is your personal code to unlock even more savings above employee pricing. Call or text me now for more details. Michael, let's talk about some of the positional battles ahead. Again, we're talking about a team now that has a glut of talent right across the board. These aren't the old Maple Leafs where we were pinning our hopes and dreams on one or two players to, carry the day, pull the freight along. Now, there are actually, 3 or 4 too many players for so few and precious positions.
It's going to be very interesting. I mean, one fact of the post Marner, post big contract situation is that we're going to have to get used to probably players shuttling in for a year or two on league minimum contracts and being like pieces on the fourth line or on the bottom pairing. And, that's a reality, and that's something that we saw last year the job that Kyle Dubas and his staff did about bringing in Tyler Ennis. And Tyler Ennis was a great value player who they brought in, who performed on the fourth line, filled in at a higher level for a few games, but was a good value on a league minimum contract. And they're hoping that players like Pontus Aberg, who played, for a couple of teams last year, is a good offensive player, questionable defensively, but a good role player, that he could be that type of guy. But the focus is right now with Zach Hyman hurt, and Hyman would slide in on the left wing with Tavares and with Marner, that Kasperi Kapanen is being flipped over to the left side on that line. Matthews will play again with Andreas Janssen and William Nylander. So that's a pretty good top six there. Now Kapanen has played left wing. I know he played it with a different position, poses different problems, and it sounds like it's a temporary thing. Once Hyman comes back, he goes to play on the line. The third line is centered by Alex Kerfoot. There was some question of whether Kerfoot was going to play center or the wing. I pretty much thought, since he was involved in the Kadri deal, that he was going to be their third line center, and it sounds like he is. Babcock indicated yesterday Ilya Mikheyev, the KHLer they brought over the summer, he will slot into that third line. along with Kapanen when Kapanen goes back down to it. So that's three pretty good lines. And then the fourth line centered by Jason Spezza, which, is that leaps and bounds better than Freddie Gauthier. With guy and that have a mix of, and I think Trevor Moore will slot in on one of those spots, but you have a mix of Trevor Moore and Ken Agostino and Pontus Aberg and Nick Shore, all these players who have played in the NHL. It's going to be a question of who plays camp and who gets that spot. And one other thing, Norman, with the cap crunch, there are not going to be many extra bodies carried on this roster. It's not going to be 23 players. It's more than likely going to be 20 or 21. So they're not going to carry a lot of extra contracts on their roster this year.
Some of the games coming up, Mike, September 20th, Buffalo, Wednesday, September 25th, the Montreal Canadiens, and then Saturday, September 28th, the Detroit Red Wings. Hockey's back, my friend. I'm excited about it. You were going over the lines. Does William Nylander attach himself to Austin Matthews' hip for the entire season, and God forbid he's removed from his line? What kind of outcry are we going to hear?
Well, I don't foresee it happening. It seems that Matthews believes that Nylander is the right fit for him, and I don't know whether Babcock really cares, but I think he wants to see his star player play with the players that he thinks he'll produce best with. And by Matthews producing at his optimum, it'll help Babcock keep his job. So I think that combo will stay together. I'm interested what's going to happen with the power play this year, because Nazem Kadri is gone. He was that guy in the middle in front of the net. So you assume that's going to be the same group of Tavares, Marner, Matthews, but it could be Andreas Janssen, who filled in for Kadri in the playoffs. It could be Tyson Berry taking Morgan Riley's spot. Paul McFarland, who they brought in, former assistant coach from Florida, used to be the head coach in Kingston. He's an innovator in terms of his tactics on the power play. So you could see a little bit of a different construction and a little bit of a different lineup on that power play.
I'm looking forward to seeing everyone on this team, from the general manager down to, the fourth line center to the tertiary support guys, take the responsibility of being a professional hockey player in this market, on this team at this time, to heart, and do what they have to do to make this team successful. I don't want to get too wrapped up, Mike, and we have to check ourselves, get too wrapped up in blaming everyone else for William Nylander not being 100% successful. It's up to him. If things aren't going well for Mike Babcock and he's being crusty and old and not evolving to the point where he realizes his job's on the line, that's up to him. If Austin Matthews is having trouble, that's his problem. If Mitch Marner gets off to a slow start, that's his problem. Everybody has to account for their own abilities and their own capabilities, pull together and make this thing work, Mike, because again, time's a ticking. I don't care how young these cats are. What are we going to do? Another 2-3 years and say, well, things are slowly taking shape. And, a lot of these young players who were once being drafted are now 5-6 years into their career, and the Leafs have nothing to show for it. The evolution of where this team has come from needs to get to a point where it is time to put up or shut up. And it sounds a little immediate. It sounds like there's an urgency to it. But, at the end of the day, go out, have fun, take responsibility for what you bring to the table, and go out and win a damn championship. Last word to you.
Yeah, there are no saviors coming. It's this group. They have to, take the ball and run with it and take responsibility for this team getting further than they have over the last few years. There's a lot of talent there, and it has been realized on the ice, but it needs to be realized at the right times in the playoffs.
OGs, thank you so much for all of your support. Let us know what you want to hear inside the comment section on the community platform. The Leafs Convo is heard on YouTube and wherever you get your favorite podcast. For Mike Augello, I'm Norm James. Talk to you soon. Mike, see you, buddy.
Thanks, Norm.